Hi folks, welcome again to the channel. Juan here from Physical Media EU. Today we have a special review because it's 4 movies at the same time. The new releases for the James Cameron classics. So let's talk about that. Hello again and thanks for tuning in. This time for this multiple review for the new releases of these James Cameron classics. But before we start, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you're interested in physical media, especially Blu-ray reviews and also soundtracks on vinyl. You can also find me on Instagram with the same handle, Physical Media EU, where I post little pictures of all the items that I review. With that said, let's begin with the review by taking a look at each of these releases. In this case, Aliens, the second movie of the saga. Then moving on, we have The Abyss, another highly anticipated movie, True Lies, and lastly, Titanic. So now let's go one by one by taking a look in detail to the releases, and at the end I'll tell you what I think of them. So let's begin with Aliens. As you saw before, all the releases in this case have slipcover. This is because they are a first print, but these are coming out soon as standard releases without slipcover. So for all these ones that I'm going to show you, these are Nordic releases. So you can see here the synopsis of the movie is written in the 4 Nordic languages: Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, and Finnish. So all of these presentations have the content written in the 4 languages. So let's remove the slipcover. Here you can find the standard release, right? So this is exactly what you will get in the newer releases because the slipcover is only for first print. So if we open this, we find just a normal black case with this tray which has two discs, which are the 4K here, the Blu-ray here, and this is the bonus features disc. So let's take one last look at the back. You can, here if you want, you can pause the video and take a closer look, and also here the back where there's a little bit more detail, but remember there will be pictures of all these on Instagram where you can read more in detail. So now let's move on to The Abyss. So again, we have the slipcover, which was very nice about this one and also in the Aliens one is that the slipcover actually has like this full height image. So this part is not black as it is, for example, in the Titanic one, which I think is not as nice. But then this was it that the color goes all the way to the top, the same with the True Lies ones. So here is the back, again with the 4 languages as I was saying, because it's a Nordic release. Let's take a look at the case inside. As you see, pretty standard. And here again, same situation, the tray with the Blu-ray on the front, sorry, the 4K on the front, the Blu-ray here with the movie, of course, and also the bonus features disc, which is also of course a Blu-ray. Now let's move on to Titanic. Again, the slipcover here, the slipcover in multiple languages, and just a standard presentation inside, right? And again, here have the 4K disc and then the movie in Blu-ray and also the bonus features disc. And lastly, True Lies, which also the slipcover, as you see, it goes, the picture goes the full height of the slipcover. Here is the back, also in multiple languages, and here is the standard case, front and back. And in this case, it's the only one that is different, and that's why I left one for the end, is that this one only has 2 discs, the 4K and the Blu-ray, and there's no extra bonus features disc. That's because True Lies actually has not so many bonus features. We'll talk about them shortly, and they are included in the Blu-ray. And because of that, when you see them here on the side, you can see that the first 3 of the movies have a little bit thicker case than True Lies, because only has those 2 discs and there's no tray inside the case. So now I'll mention the things that are common between all these, and then I'll go again one by one over each of these releases by talking a little bit about the special features. So the things that these releases have in common is that all of them have Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos. They are all multi-region Blu-rays. They all include multiple languages besides the one that are stated on the slip cases or in the back of the cases. In this case, as I said, it's the Nordic languages, but besides that, there's also included several other languages. And I'm talking about subtitles, audio languages, and also the languages of the menu. And in many cases, it happens that the Dolby Atmos track is only included in the original language, but in this case, some of the other languages also include Dolby Atmos. And I mentioned about the regions because of course the 4K discs are always regions free, but the Blu-rays normally are not. And in this case they are all multi-region Blu-rays, which means that with these releases you can access all the content anywhere in the world you are. And being that these are new restorations of the movie and they include so many languages, to me that means that these are definitive releases. But if I'm not wrong, all these were marketed as collector's editions. And that's because they are very, very complete. So let's go over the bonus features that each of these have to see what else do you get besides the movie. So let's begin with Aliens. So it has 3 discs, as I said at the beginning. The movie comes in 2 versions, in theatrical and special edition, which I'm not entirely sure like what they mean by special edition. Is it director's cut or not? I'm not sure. It's just like it is extended for sure, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it means by special edition. Then there's also audio commentary by director James Cameron, of course, cast and crew. Then the special edition has an introduction by James Cameron. Then it has isolated scores, film theatrical and composers original, and also direct access to new additional scenes from special edition. That's all included in the first 2 discs. But now moving on to the 3rd disc with the one with the bonus feature, there's also the inspiration and design of Aliens. There's also a featurette of making Aliens. That one I thought it was very, very interesting because as this is an old movie, there was not so much CGI involved, of course, and there's a lot of practical tricks, right, to being done. And it's very interesting to see how those things were made, right? They use, in some cases, slow motion cameras, in other times they recorded something and played it in reverse. They use different techniques that were actually very smart, and in the movie they look very smooth. So if you're a curious person, this is a very good documentary to watch. There's also pre and post production, stills and footage, and much more, says here. So it is definitely a very complete release that has pretty much everything that is around about this movie. Moving on, let's take a look at The Abyss. And in this case, the first and second disc, right, I refer to the Blu-ray and the 4K, both bring only the movie, but in 2 different versions, theatrical and also special edition. The special edition in this case is 31 extra minutes, while in Aliens it was 17. And regarding the bonus features disc, it includes Deep Dive, a conversation with James Cameron, The Legacy of the Abyss, Under Pressure Making the Abyss, archives, still and video, including the shooting script, original treatment, storyboards and more. So again, just like Aliens, if you like this movie, these discs are packed of content that will give you several hours of extra entertainment besides the movie. Now let's move on to Titanic. And for Titanic, this one says over 15 hours of bonus features. Includes new documentary Titanic, Stories from the Heart, featuring new interviews with James Cameron, John Lithgow, and Kate Winslet, a new fan art gallery. Those are in the bonus features. The first 2 discs, I refer again to the 4K and the Blu-ray. The only extras that you can find there, the 3 commentary audio tracks, which are from 2005. One of them is with James Cameron, another is with the cast from the movie, and the last one by some, I think it's 1 or 2 historians that are in that one. So in my opinion, the 3 of them are like quite valuable. Now for this release, I was very surprised about the bonus feature, especially that documentary that it comes in the bonus features disc, because it's new, it's I think 43 minutes long, and 25 years after the release of the movie puts a lot of things in perspective. And they even address if Jack and Rose would have fit in that wood plank we saw in the movie. So for me, that documentary and other of the extras were very interesting. I'm not such a big Titanic person, but I always liked the exploration of the wreckage. I remember reading my mother's National Geographic from like the year I was born, which were about the exploration of the wreckage of the Titanic. And some of those things are shown again here in this modern documentary. So I thought it was very nice. Lastly, True Lies, the ones that has the least things to say. It only has 2 bonus features, and those are, well, it's actually 2 bonus features, 2 options in the menu, but one of them is a collection of several things let's see here the list. It says like the original script of the movie, artwork, marketing, posters, behind the scenes documents. But the thing with all those is that those are all stills. They are just galleries. There's no video there. The other option in the menu is this new documentary called Fear is Not an Option, a look back at True Lies. And this is what all fans want to see, because this is a newly made retrospective documentary that includes interviews with Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Cameron, and Jamie Lee Curtis. So that is completely new, and you can see it here in this release. So moving on, let's talk about why these movies were so controversial and what was happening with this historically. So first, I want to show Aliens next to Alien. I apologize for the reflection. That's why I post pictures on Instagram where you can see this more on detail. But Alien, right? This one came out in the Fox years, and since Fox was acquired by Disney, they almost didn't do anything regarding physical media, with the intention to make Disney Plus stronger, right? So for years, many of these movies were anticipated and like highly wished by the collectors community, especially these two, The Abyss and True Lies, because these two didn't have Blu-ray releases. So every year these movies were always on the rumors that this year they are coming, this year they are coming, and finally it happened. Like on April's Fool Day, it was always these movies were there, and it finally happened. So it's very positive that Disney listened to the audience and what people wanted, and finally we have them here. We'll talk a little bit more in detail now about like how the reception was, but it happened. It's nice that we finally have the 4K releases in our hands. So if we're gonna talk about James Cameron and 4K restorations, it's impossible not to mention T2, Terminator 2, one of the most, if not the most controversial 4K transfer ever for several reasons, and I have made a video about this. You can find the link here in the corner if you are interested in more detail. But all in all, it was that the restoration for this movie was made using the 3D version of the movie, and besides that is the theatrical cut and not the director's cut. But that was only the beginning of the problem, because I think James Cameron pulled that George Lucas move here, where he kind of modified some things in the movie, and especially retouched the look of the movie too much, especially applying DNR, which is digital noise reduction, right, which makes the images look smoother and removes the grain from the image, removing detail, which is one of the advantages that 4K would give you, right? So you're basically dismissing that by applying DNR so much, right? Because there are like certain different degrees that you can do it. So this transfer was not well received, and since then even people of course wants to see more James Cameron movies coming to 4K. There is that sense of like certain fear because you don't know what you're gonna get. In the case of Terminator 2, a lot of people prefer still the Skynet edition Blu-ray, as you can see here, which this is the director's cut version, and it doesn't have all the digital enhancements that the 4K transfer had. So what's the deal with this for? What's the verdict with this? So yeah, again, let's go one by one. I'll go from, in my opinion, best to worst, and I'll tell you what I think. So in my opinion, the first and the second are very, very close to each other. I will put Titanic first, and I think it has a slight edge over the second one because this is an epoch movie, right? It's a movie that happened in the past, and with the HDR and Dolby Atmos, I think it looks very good. In this case, the DNR they applied is quite minimal, I think, so the movie looks very good. And comparing it to the Blu-ray also included here, which has the same transfer, I think the 4K is considerably superior to the Blu-ray. Especially in the underwater scenes, I thought that the 4K disc looks great, while the Blu-ray was not that good. But on many of the day scenes, they are quite similar. But at the same time, but in darker scenes, of course, the 4K always will look better. So in my opinion, this is the best of the four, and it actually looks great. I won't put down anything on this one, I think it just looks great. Second place, I will give to Aliens. Aliens, I think they also did a great job here. The Aliens is a very dark movie, which if done right, the 4K has several features that dark movies will benefit from. And I think this is the case here in Aliens. Also, DNR, very minimal here. And while the grain is somewhat minimal, I think it looks very good. And also, I wouldn't complain anything else about this movie. Again, this is my opinion. I think, especially with this movie, I think it's very divided. There's a lot of people that absolutely hated it, but I'm on the side of people who that actually liked it. So let's move on to the next one. In this case is The Abyss. The Abyss, I thought it does look good. It has very intense colors, which this movie has a lot of those scenes where these colors pop out a lot. It is for some scenes like a colorful movie, if you will, in certain tones, and I think particularly those scenes benefit a lot from the 4K features. Now here the DNR starts to get a little bit more aggressive, I would say. And for example, like one of the first scenes underwater, right, with the submarine, the blue colors look very smooth, to the point that it looks like a modern movie. So at that point, if you maybe are not told what you're watching, maybe it's hard to distinguish how old is the movie. But then on the indoor scenes, I mean, like inside of the station and the submarine, the skins are a little bit more smooth, and sometimes it looks a little bit off. But I think that's being very picky. And in general, I think this release was also very good. The movie looks great, especially also there was no Blu-ray, so like what can we compare to, right? Like old DVD. So definitely this is an improvement. And lastly, True Lies, which I think there's a big gap between the third and the fourth. I think the job they did here was actually not that great, especially because they went very far with the DNR, to the point that in several scenes the faces of the characters look very waxy, even like a little like sweaty in some points. So it doesn't look that good. Like the edges are not that sharp. So I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity here. For what I have read online, I think most people agree that this is the worst of the four of them. The other three kind of like depends on who you ask, but most people agree that this is the worst of the four. Now another thing to mention, I think is important, is that one of the visions about these four movies is that even though the movies might look good, somewhat good, depends on who you ask, the problem is that they are changing what the original movie was. And that's the problem. It's over enhanced and gives us a final product that is not too close to the original film. And I can understand that point. It's also interesting to note that James Cameron always has been a director that always liked technology and went after the new trends and new technologies that were available. So it's been said that for many of these restorations, same as happened with Terminator 2, is that he and his team used artificial intelligence to improve or enhance these movies. And there are cases that those algorithm works better than others, right? And here we have like four very different movies, and here you can see how we got mixed results, right? In some of the movies were great, and some other times not as good. In my opinion, enhancing the movies in that way, I think it's a little lazy, and also probably mass produced is the word, because it's like, yeah, okay, I have this movie that was great, and of course it's an opportunity to re-release it. So okay, let's bring it to 4K, but let's just put the minimum effort possible, right? Which just like put a computer to improve it, to enhance it, and that accelerates that step a lot. But yeah, you kind of miss the customization, right? And like of the benefits of having the director to work with to make this restoration, right? Like some other studios or like labels, right? We see make, for example, Second Sight Film, right? Or like Arrow Video. You see how much dedication they put to these restorations. So I think like making it with AI is a little bit lazy. On the other hand, all the audio tracks in these movies were greatly improved. Again, yeah, they also include the original audio tracks, but when you switch to Dolby Atmos, it might depend on the setup that you have, but in my setup, the Dolby Atmos sounded much better in all the cases. And I think that many of the reviews about these releases that were very focused on the image, which of course is very important. I think sometimes the audio part was a little bit overlooked. So again, these movies were highly anticipated. As soon as the pre-order opened on Amazon, like people went like crazy on them. This one particularly was not released in the UK because it has a scene with a rat that they decided not to release the movie there, so people there in the UK had to buy this one overseas. But for us in the rest of Europe, you can easily get any of them on multiple websites. They were like all over the place. But these first prints with the slipcovers sold out in many places. Still now, I think the hype is a little over because this came out a couple of months ago already. So you can still get some of these with the slipcovers, but already the new versions that are coming are without them. Now, another thing I want to mention is I like to talk about other releases, and for these 3 movies there are no other releases other than just the same without slipcover. But for Titanic, there's actually a collector's edition. You can see the picture up here, which has a lot of extra stuff. At the moment costs around, or a little bit over $100, I think, which I think for what you get, it might be a little bit overpriced. Okay, and lastly, the same thing I said with Terminator 2. The best way to find out how good these movies look is to be your own judge. So I would recommend try to get these movies, try to watch them if you're a fan of the movie, and decide yourself if you like them or not. Because you can hear a lot of opinions online, but we all have different backgrounds, different tastes, different experience, and there are way too many perspectives, right? So maybe some people say they hate it and you might like it, right? And that's completely fine. So at least for these 4 versions, right, they are not that hard to get. They are not that expensive because they are not that special releases. For sure there will be sales like Black Friday, President's Day and so on, where you can get this cheaper. So if you're not in a hurry, you can just wait for an offer for them to come. I have already seen this drop in the US, and I mean on Amazon.com, and they are not even on offer at the moment. So that was it for the review. It actually took longer than I thought. Thank you for keeping up this long. Remember to check on Instagram, the same handle, Physical Media EU. I will post little pictures of each of these releases, and I would like to hear your opinion in the comments. If you have watched these movies, what do you think of them, or if you are planning to get them. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all at Talkie Dogs.